we're going to be talking about the Impact Award, our Impact Award roundtable. So let me introduce you to our panelists today. First, right from California, we have team 1622, Spyder. So please, could you raise your hand so we can see you? Yep, we have Serena, and is it only you, right, Serena?
Yes, it's only going to be me today.
Thank you. No problems. Welcome to warm up. Then we have team 2020, Blue Twilight from Egan in the United States. And we have Brady. So welcome, Brady, to warm up as well. And also we have, I think with you, Brady, is Naomi, right? So also welcome, Naomi. And also we have Paulina and Sofia from team 4400. Welcome, Paulina and Sofia. So let's begin with our roundtable. You are here to talk about the Impact Award. Well, first of all, I'd like you to introduce maybe yourselves and your teams and how long you've been in the first competition. So we may begin with you, Serena, in team 1622.
Thank you so much. My name is Serena Feluccio, and I've been on the team for 2 years now, and it's been really fun.
Thank you. Maybe Brady or Naomi, either one of you.
Hi, I am Brady. I've been doing robotics for stuff for like 3 years. This is my 4th year on the team. I'm currently a captain. I mostly do mechanical stuff, and our team has existed for around, I think, 17 years, and we take a big focus on like the Impact Award stuff, and we've won that at a bunch of regionals. So thank you for having us.
Thank you for being here. And also maybe Sofia or Paulina from team 4400.
Hi, I'm Sofia from Cerbotics. This is I graduated this year, so I was like 4 years on the team, and I'm happy to be here.
Thank you very much, Sofia. So as you can see, we have team members that are actively working on their Impact Award submissions. And we also have already graduated members that are helping their teams. So the topic for these roundtable is, of course, the Impact Award. Well, maybe during the roundtable, I may sleep a chairman's award. It's natural, sorry about it, but in my mind is already said with the chairman's award, but it's going to be the Impact Award. Now, I'm going to ask you a few questions, and we want to know your point of view on this specific award, the most prestigious award that first gives to teams. So let's get right into it. First of all, and talking already into matter, let's talk about the essay for the Impact Award. I'm going to be clear. What makes you think an essay is memorable? What makes an essay memorable for you? And the order is going to be Tim 1622, and then Blue Twilight, and then Cerbotics. So, Serena, the floor is yours.
For me, to make a essay memorable, you have to make it interesting. You have to let it flow, and just you want your essay to excite the judges. They want to like read this and actually feel the passion you have for your team, as well as like you also need statistics and like numbers and stuff. But I feel like for me, when I write, I kind of want to at least show like some passion in my work, just so that like they can feel it and they, you know.
Okay, thank you. Brady?
Yeah, so I think another really important thing for the essay is to make sure that you use specific examples, right? So you don't want to just say like, oh, we had an FLL team, we did some outreach like that. You want to give specific examples like we did this program, and maybe give like quotes from people who were involved. So like I know for our thing, we did like FLL at a homeless shelter, and we got a quote from one of the participants and implemented that into our essay. So stuff like that is going to make it very clear more so what the impact was, how it affected people. And that's something that's really going to grab the judge's attention and make it very clear why what you're doing impact-wise was important to the people you did it with.
Thank you. And well, for you, Team 4400, again, what makes an essay memorable? And let's put it this way. Usually the questions you answer before you write your essay have a specific tone to them or a specific way you write them. It is in the essay when you have the opportunity to express yourself, to be a little bit more creative, and you have more tools to make an essay memorable. So what are these tools, or what in general you think is what makes an essay indeed memorable?
I think it's creativity. If you want people to always remember your essay, make like take your time to think of a really fun topic or something that when people read it say like, oh my god, I have never read an essay like this. So not only judges but other people like can recognize your team. Maybe you can start with a question, choose a topic maybe that it's out of your comfort zone, and experiment. Our team has already like in branding that you build your team identity. Try to do the same with the chairman submission, so you can be like constant and already like build up a name or something that people identify you with.
Okay, thank you, Sophia. And of course, yes, the essay is just a part of the whole submission we do for the impact award. And the next question would be looking at the whole process, the whole submission, from beginning to the presentation in the regional events or in champs. How do you organize your teams or your chairman's teams? When do you start preparing for the impact award, and how do you divide your tasks? So let's go with team 1622.
So for us, we like to start early on our essay, at least have a basic structure of how we want to see it. For example, currently we are working on like the structure right now, so that when you know the theme and the questions come out on, I believe, the 7th, we can just restructure it how we like, talk give it like that spice in there, and so then we're easily prepared. But also we have a like when we want to mention something like outreaches, we have an organization for that too, where like we keep all the descriptions and the photos for the outreaches, so that when we do use it in the essay, we can easily just refer back to it. We divide it in the sense where we have multiple people working on different sections, and then we review it and like add stuff, like subtract stuff. So it's just basically like writing and reviewing.
Thank you, Serena. Now, maybe Team Blue Twilight, you may tell us how you divide your workload during the Impact Award submission.
We like to have an outline so we know when everything is due, and that way we know what to prioritize. Like maybe we want to have a first draft done like halfway through the season, and then that way we know when it's due and when we can like revise things and what takes priority over other stuff.
Okay, thank you, Naomi. Team 4400.
Yeah, so first at the preseason, we make like a selection to know which are the team members that are going to be like in the whole process of the tournament. Well, now the impact award, yeah, I get a little bit confused. And then we make like a calendarization to know when are we going to finish the questions. I don't know, like this day we're going to make this question, and then this one, and then the essay, and then the theme for the essay. So we start like mid-November, December to make the whole impact process, and it's very long. It's like Serena said, that it's like to write and review, write and review, write and review. So it takes a lot of time.
It does take a lot of time, and not only the part of the submission itself, but even preparing other stuff for judges or for the presentation. So let me get into the next question, and it goes about documentation. Since 2018, 2019, documentation got a special place in the chairman submissions. At that time, the chairman submissions, now the impact submission. So let me ask you, if you present to the judges any kind of information or documentation as for the submission itself, or as to help during the presentation, and if you do so, how do you present such documentation? There were these documentation forums and all that stuff that came in 2020. We used them. Some teams are still getting used to using them, but tell us about your team, Serena.
For Spyder, we used to have a big book, like a really big binder that just carried all the information, and it was really funny because we would go up to the judges and just like set this giant binder down in front of them, and exactly just and they were a bit intimidated, so we're kind of making it into almost a magazine so that they're not so intimidated and they're not like, whoa, we have to read this entire thing. But not only that, but we also, at the end of our presentation, we have little pamphlets that we give out, which just summarizes what we do and like talks about who we are. And so whenever we present now, we're gonna take our magazine, which isn't as intimidating, and our little booklets, which basically summarize.
Thank you very much, Serena. Team 2220, how do you present your documentation? Well, first of all, do you present any kind of documents to the judges, and then how do you do?
Yeah, so usually what we do is when the judges are walking around the pits and stuff, they generally might ask some questions about chairmans. So when they come over, we have, I think, like magazine's a good word. We try and like take all of our information from the season. So like our business plan, as well as just kind of overall the outreach that we do. And we try to kind of put it in a like short, understandable manner that the judges can just kind of look at, glance over it, and get a good idea of what we've been doing over the season very quickly. And then we give those to them so they can take those and refer to it at any time. And then also during our presentation, we like to use visual aids and that kind of thing. So everything is pretty easy for the judges to understand and such.
Yep, it is. And well, when the judges are walking by in the pits, I've been there. I was there for a couple of years, and it's really stressing. So, and yes, the real big binders are all over the place, all over the pits. I remember one team in Houston that had these enormous binders on their pit, and they were right on the table in their pit, but they were closed. So you just passed by and said, wow, they got a lot of information to show to the judges. But sometimes the judges tell you, I don't want to read all the information. So it's almost like a decision to make. You want to present all the information? Do you want to present a summarized version of the information you have, of the documents you want to present? So, Sophia, Paulina, what does Team 4400 do to present documents to the judges, and what's the way you use to do that?
During the interview, we hand out like our business plan. We have a magazine that it doesn't contain like team information about activities or how many team members are, like business plan information, but it's like many teams write articles about FIRST, so it's like our way to spread FIRST inside FIRST. So we hand out our magazine, our business plan, and we, since like I think 2020, we have been following the documentation form that like it asks you for every activity like to have a page where you put some evidence like a letter, photos. So in the chairman's team, we are, last year we were a few, like 7 or 8, so we divide all the work, and people that are not like involved in the interview help like creating this documentation form, so we have like everything documented. And before, like for every event, we try to have like our letter for the people that we organize the activity with, like to sign up for the evidence. But I think the important part is like not to saturate judges so they don't get like a, a lot of documentation, because it's a small amount of time, and I don't think they read it all.
Of course, yep. And I mean, this year's submission for the Impact Award has already started for most of the teams. So let me ask you, especially for those teams that are watching us that maybe are rookies, they are on their second or third year and they're willing to submit their Impact Award. What's the first thing you do, even before beginning to write the essay? Let me be clear, even before starting to answer the executive summary, what is the first thing you sit down with your team and discuss about the submission? Team 1622.
I'm a bit confused on the question. Are you saying like what we like? I'm a bit confused.
Yep, don't worry, I'll rephrase it. So even before you begin to writing your essay or answering the questions on the executive summary, do you like guys get together, or do you organize the workload? What are the steps prior to beginning the submission? Or do you just go ahead and begin writing the essay?
Okay. I think I know what you're talking about, so I'm just going to answer as best as I can. Before we start the essay, we typically want to know, like, we kind of, how do I say this? we the business team typically becomes like the PR team, which is public relations, and basically we ensure, like, we make sure that everyone does an outreach, and which an outreach is like an event that we host that each team member has to do. So that, and then we document that, but also I guess we kind of
Sorry, Serena, I think we lost your audio feed, right? Or is it just me? So, oh, I think we can hear you now. Yep.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, no, we just kind of, we do get together and we talk about what days we can be at, like what times we can work during build season, and basically just plan out like how build season's gonna look, I guess.
Yeah, and that's the issue, because most of the times we begin, or teams begin, preparing for the Impact Award even during holidays, during Christmas, and during December is a really tough month. But yeah, that's the question. What are your steps before beginning the submission? So Brady, what does your team do before beginning to write the essay or answer the questions of the summary?
So, I mean, I think the first thing is, and even like way before you start writing anything, is you have to actually like do the outreach, do the volunteering. So generally, we separate that from build season. We don't really want to be doing that during build season. So that's during our off season, and I'd recommend doing it like that. So like at the beginning of the season, beginning of the school year, we'll get together, we'll talk about what outreach we want to do, we'll plan all of that, figure out when we want to do that. So all of our outreach that we do in the season is done before build season, where we're going to be spending most of our time actually building the robot. And then when it comes to actually like writing the essay, bit of time that we'll spend just making sure, well, just kind of getting a list of like, what are the main things that we want to get into our essay, into our presentation? What are the things that we want the judges to know? Because there's a lot of outreach that we do in any given season, and some of the outreach is more important to emphasize than other things, right? Some things we do are really cool. Some things we do might be like pretty common for other teams. So we want to make sure we emphasize things. So we make sure we get those into the essays and make sure we get those into the presentations. And if we can fit in the other stuff, that's great. But making sure we prioritize what's important before we even start writing things or doing things is pretty important to us.
I completely agree with you. Brady, I think even the impact award needs a strategy, and that strategy should be traced by the team that's going to write the essay and be on the presentation and be on the regional events. So team 4400, we have Serena from Team Spyder telling us that they do a lot of PR stuff before they even begin writing the essay. Or we have Brady telling us that they sit down and get a strategy done for the upcoming submission. What would you say is your thing? What do you do before even start writing down everything?
Okay, so besides the selection of the team members that want to participate in the impact submission, we made like a big list of all the activities and the things that we're going to put on our questions and our essay, and we divide them in axes because we like in Cerbotics, we divide our essay and our questions in different axes. So it depends of the activity, and that's like, I think it's the most important thing, because when you make the whole list, you can see like the impact you had on each activity. And also we can organize like what to put in each question, and it will be easier at the time of answering the questions.
Thank you, Paulina. And I'm glad you mentioned this of deciding what kind of information to put in the questions and what kind of information to put in the essay. Last year in 2022, we had this amazing roundtable with team 3132, and I think it was team Frog as well. I don't remember precisely, but team 3132 was there. And I said to them, there's these old split decision, or this old fight in between facts and feeling on the submissions. So do I use facts or do I use feeling? Will the judges prefer facts on my essay, or will they prefer to almost burst into tears when they read it? So how do you teams decide what type of information to use in your submissions? And I'm going to be a bit more clear. I'm going to read the question as it's written down in the script. What is the most important thing to make clear or mention in your essay? And you can stay on the facts feeling decision, or you can mention anything your team mentions. So Serena?
I feel like they definitely want to hear facts, because they want to hear what you did. They want to be able to like, know exactly what you did, and like, is this a fact? Did you actually do this? But in the feeling sense, you want to present that in a passionately way, like, hey, we did this and we impacted this many people. So it's kind of a balance between facts and feelings, where you don't want to be like, we love our team, this is so cool, and then they're like, okay, that's cool, we liked your team too, what did you do to impact others, so it's almost like a balance, I feel like.
Okay, a balance. Yep. Brady or Naomi?
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely agree that it's a balance. Again, facts are important, numbers. It's better to say we hosted 7 FLL teams than like we just hosted some FLL teams, right? So it's important to get the numbers in, but it's also important to remember like they renamed this award to the Impact Award for a reason, right? They want to know how it's actually impacting the people that you're volunteering with. So if you're doing the FLL teams, it is good to say, yeah, we hosted 7 FLL teams around our state, but it's also good to say how you're actually impacting those people, because that's what they want to know at the end of the day, is the impact you're having on the kids. So say maybe like things like why you chose to work with a certain group. So like we worked with like the Girl Scouts, stuff like that, why you chose to work with those groups, and then what impact you're having on them. So, and that's kind of more of the feelings part, where you're getting more into like how you're actually helping these people. And that's kind of really the strong part of the essay. And that's where you're actually kind of getting into the impact part. So I think that's generally the more important part, but you definitely want to have those feelings backed up by numbers and that kind of thing.
Awesome. Thank you. Brady, Team 4400, how do you deal with these facts and feeling decision?
I think I agree with all. It has to be a balance because then your essay can get like super cheesy, or like too boring because it is a long essay, and if you just like keep mentioning and mentioning numbers, it can be overwhelming for whoever is reading. So, like Brady said, like there is an impact that it can be expressed with numbers. So that's where you can like put your burst into tears type of essay. And like to mention, you have to be sure that everything that you're writing is like they can understand it because they didn't do that activity, they weren't there. So be sure to like explain everything and don't leave a blank space. And be careful with the numbers because sometimes we put like some little X. Meanwhile, we get like the exact number and you can forget it. And then in your essay, there will be like an X. And with numbers also like check that everything is the same in your business plan, in your questions, and in your essay. And like I said before, be very creative and that everything is connected in your essay and in your questions.
Indeed it is. And I think also that not only the questions of the executive summary or the essay are important, but sometimes teams focus or in the essay and the executive summary and not in the interview, or they focus completely on an interview and forget about what they did in the essay. So let's move on now to these. The impact of our interview you have at the regional events. So we all remember being at the queue in Houston, right outside of rooms A or B, and looking at all these teams with their dinosaurs costumes or their big or their big resources they use for the presentation. And well, that's really cool, and we all love that. But for you, how do you prepare for an interview? And not only the costumes or the topic, but the whole idea of the interview. How do you manage it and direct your students in case you are mentors, or how does your mentors direct you as to get the best out of you and have the best presentation? So Serena?
So before we actually go to the regionals, we as the business team decide who wants to do the chairman or sorry the impact speech, so that we know like, oh, you're going to this regional, so that means you can do it there. And typically we like to have like about 3 speakers, so that like, because it is nerve-wracking, so just like have someone there who can like help you through it. But also we want to like teach them how to talk, how to answer things, so just basically prepare them and like almost do a speaking like training of like what to do. um we also like to dress a little classy and like wear black suits because like our colors are black and white. And so we wear a little spider pin, and beforehand we basically just go over what we're gonna say, and like just all 3 of the speakers get together and just review and make sure that we're all on the same page, and also just morally just be like, hey, you got this, and whatever happens, we can do it.
Awesome. Well, Brady or Naomi, how do you prepare for the interview?
So we like develop a list of questions that we think the judges might ask us, and then we practice those questions so we like have quick responses for what we want to say when the judges actually ask us questions, so they can ask us the most questions in that time. And then we also present our presentation to mentors and parents before, and then see if they can come up with new questions as well. And then just practicing a lot so you really have your presentation down.
Yeah, and of course, preparation and practice is really important. And also every team has its own image and how it uses that image as to prepare its impact presentation. A lot of things can happen. Mistakes are normally humans. I remember one of my teammates forgetting his suit for the presentation a couple minutes before it was due to begin, and that stuff happens. But Team 4400, how do you prepare for the presentation?
Okay, so the topic of the presentation, we settled down like at the same time of the essay, so it has like it's connected, the essay with the presentation. And for the interview, we make also, like Naomi said, a list of possible questions that they can ask us from our essay, and we make a script. Also, like Serena said, like we agree with both of them. We make a script, so, and we divide it, and then it's like to practice and practice and practice, and also present it to our mentors, so they can tell us like, no, you have to put it more feeling, or don't forget to say this, and all of these little details that are important. So that's basically all of it, like only to make a script and to not forget like what you're doing, like the motive, that it's important, all the activities and all the, like at the time of at the beginning of the interview, it's important you remember that it's not only like the award that you're winning, it has a lot of message behind it.
Okay, thank you. There's a last question on the script that I'll make you in a couple seconds. Before that, I have here 3 questions from the attendees on the Q&A section. I'm going to center on these 3 questions only due to time, but let me ask you, first of all, Serena, here's a question specifically for Team 1622, and it says, do you guys make adjustments to your impact presentation between each one of the 6 regionals you attend, or is it set at the beginning? Do the same students present at each? How do they miss so much school?
So wait, what was the first question again?
Oh, if you make any kind of adjustments to the presentation in between regional events.
Oh yeah. Typically when we first start, we present and then we're like, well, that didn't really sound right. I didn't really like how that. So we typically like do revise and we're like, okay, that sounds more natural. I like that more, because we give a speech as our presentation. As for like the same 3 people, it depends, because I know that last year, since we didn't have many people on the business team, we kind of got it so that the same 3 people did present, which was a problem because some of them didn't go to some regionals and others did. But this year we do have different people at each regional. Although, yeah. So, and then what was the 3rd question?
Yep. How do you guys miss so much school?
That's a good question. But basically, I know that some people work their butts off, like during regionals. Like when we're at the hotel, I can see a lot of people just writing away, doing their homework, getting into contact with their teachers. And it's really just about like contact with your teachers, because sometimes I know that we're going to go to a regional where we're gonna miss our finals. And so we have to like communicate with the school, with the teachers, and just talk about like how can we get our work done and still pass.
Yeah. I mean, exams, you're going to have a lot of exams during your career, but Sherman's presentations, not that many much. So you need to prioritize. Maybe for Team Blue Twilight, I have these questions. Do you find useful participating in presentation practices with other teams?
So I can't say that that's a thing that we've done before. I might be wrong. Naomi, you can correct me if I am. But I don't think we've done that before. I could definitely see there being some use to that. I think just generally, it's good to have as many ears on this presentation as you can. So presenting to both people who don't have much experience with FIRST and seeing like what questions they have, and then also presenting to people who do have experience with FIRST and will be able to make questions based on that. So that might be other teams. If you can do that, that seems like a good thing. We haven't done that, I don't think, but it could also just be like mentors, that kind of thing, that are going to give you those questions. But I think doing it with other teams is definitely a good idea if you can.
Yes, I've only experienced it once, and I was already a mentor this last season in California. There was this very joyful team member of that we met in the regional, and he said, "Oh, you're guys preparing for the presentation. Let me hear it." And we were like, "Okay, yeah, why not?" And then he gave us feedback, and it was really cool. So I think it's possible, maybe not that common, but yeah, it is possible. And well, team 4400, let me make you now the last question before we end this roundtable. What would be your overall advice for teams, and specifically newer teams, rookie teams with 2-3 years of experience during the submission process? Your best advice.
I think that it will be to be confident about yourselves and to know that, I mean, you were in those activities. You know why you are doing all of this. You know it has a purpose and it has an impact on a lot of people. So just be confident about yourselves. And I mean, it's really important for you to try to share this passion that you have on your team. So it's just that, I mean, to make the other people feel the same that you feel.
Okay, thank you. Serena, your best advice for teams preparing for the Impact Award?
Basically just, yeah, do a lot of outreaches because that looks good, but also have a structure for how you want for like everything. I mean, like be organized, be prepared for a lot of things, and just know that whatever happens happens. And in the end, as long as you come out with a good time and more experience, that's all that really matters.
Thank you very much, Serena. And finally, Brady, Naomi, your best advice for teams preparing for the Impact Award?
Again, stay really organized, make a schedule and then follow your schedule, because they don't accept any late submissions for your essay and answers and stuff. So just stick to your schedule.
Stick to your schedule. And well, everyone, be ready for the submission dates and begin preparing your presentations and keep doing that awesome work we all do, or we did as chairmen and now Impact members. So thank you very much, Brady, Naomi, Serena, Sofia, Paulina, Team 1622, Team 2220, and Team 4400. It was a pleasure being with you all, and well, thank you for being in warm-up.
Thank you so much for having us.
It's been a pleasure.